So I caught a video of The Rock talking about his history of whys and not lies, his history of whys with a W, and I thought it was a really interesting topic slash conversation. He asks people to talk about their whys, and so this is my history of whys, and I think with our whys, we have the logical why, the why that we know, but I think we also have a subconscious why and that we're not aware of. So, just using my story as an example, and by the way, I would love to hear yours as well. I think it's important to think about our whys, to refresh, to be reminded. You know, our whys are what drives us, right? And if we don't have a strong why, chances are we're just going to be going through the motions, or we're going to be chasing something that isn't honest to us. Without an authentic, honest why, we can just be going down cul-de-sacs, putting a lot of effort and action into something that ultimately is not going to be meaningful, fulfilling, or sustainable. So for me, my first why, when I was writing screenplays, the why there was just to get rich. The why was to get a house in the hills, to drive fancy cars. And I think subconsciously, though, that why I was writing screenplays. I mean, I had a passion for movies. It's not like I was just forcing myself to do it. I went to film school. I got some praise from professors, and they said I had potential as a writer. So there was some authentic why there, but I think through the process, the why was very plastic. The why was very superficial, and on the surface, my why was to succeed in Hollywood. To have some kind of deal with the studio, to have the house and the Range Rover Porsche combo and the horseshoe-shaped driveway, but subconsciously, I think my why was to fit in. Growing up in LA and always hanging out with people in the entertainment business, I just wanted to fit in, and I think my why was if I could. My why was to fit in, and if I could, sell a screenplay, it was the ticket into the quad, right? And this theme of fitting in, if you chase that string, it goes back further, all the way to coming to America and trying to fit in, from 3 years old, trying to fit in when my parents put me in a strawberry shortcake t-shirt. Didn't know that was for girls, trying to fit in school and all that. And I did a good job of it, I managed to fit in through ability, through breakdancing, through skateboarding, riding bikes and all that. But this kind of subconscious current of trying to fit in, I think was also probably a bigger why, writing screenplays and 12 hours a day, just punching keys. And then after that, once I became a therapist, my why changed. My why was no longer about Hollywood or trying to sell screenplays. The universe dropped me into nonprofit, and this is my second why that I thought was really powerful, because I didn't want to be there. Shitty pay, not what I thought a therapist looked like, meaning khakis, golf t-shirt, taking kids to grocery stores and outings. Did not want to work with teenagers, but in that experience, I caught fire. After learning that we live in a fatherless nation. So then my why was about, or why I was working hard in nonprofit. I think I was there for about 5 years, was because I wanted to make a dent with these kids, right? So then I spearheaded a family support group, and I was in the trenches, working with kids, working with parents, all of that stuff. From there, I got into addiction, residential. I got into eating disorders, and when I started the Angry Therapist blog on Tumblr, then a new why emerged, and that why was fueled by a passion to change the landscape on how we change, not only how we change, but how we show up. And so as I started to be more vulnerable and practice transparency, and I started getting support from people online, I was in a dark place, so it meant everything to me. I realized that a therapist doesn't have to have an office, and a therapist doesn't have to have the non-discreet room with the silver balls and the wrinkle-free pants. And basically, a therapist doesn't have to tuck in his shirt, right? Which I tried, was not to me. And then I got a fire for teaching life coaches, right? And that was the emergence of Journey Coaching, where we've now graduated over 500 plus coaches, and I teach there, and it's bigger than me. So that was a big why, still is. And then my next big why, I would say, is recently. And The Rock shares a story about at 29, he had his first child, his daughter, and that was a game changer. It's early for me. It's only been about 15 days since Logan was born. But that why obviously is very strong, when you have a child. I'm sure it changes and morphs, but you definitely reevaluate everything. You shuffle your life cards and put weight on different things. And so now there's a new why, why I am doing what I'm doing. Everything from creating a dialogue to sessions and texting people, teaching, running workshops, everything I'm doing, plus whatever I'm going to be doing. There's no way that my daughter's not going to influence that, right? So that's going to be a new why. And most recently, the fire I've got in my belly, and this is also related to having a daughter, is our swipe culture, trying to disrupt our swipe culture, because this why started with clients, and mostly women in their 30s, frustrated with dick pics and swiping and being ghosted and catfished and all that, and them getting discouraged and kind of giving up on love, right? And I remember for me, dating was such a different experience, because I grew up in the 80s, and dating meant you had to have the balls to ask someone out, and then you had to go pick them up. And I remember me washing my car and setting up my 6-disc CD changer. And then if the date went well, the callback, the flowers, actually you have to court them. And all that is dead, all that's gone now. And I don't want my daughter to grow up in a very superficial swipe culture where people are baseball cards. And so I have a new why, and this new why is fueled by, yes, Logan, but also from my clients, from actual stories and people who are frustrated, and also kind of being traumatized by dating, And so now I have a fire in my belly to create the first non-swipe dating app, which is going to be video-based, and you actually have to show yourself. There's also going to be a whole section where it's all about self-betterment. So once you find someone, you're still using the app to grow. And hopefully you're going to use the app and all the content on it by experts to start building a relationship, because we all know that relationships are built. And just because you find someone attractive doesn't mean that the relationship's going to be good, right? So that's my new why. And here's the thing, as we go through life and as we pursue different things, our whys change, and I think that's okay. I think our whys are meant to change. When people talk about passion and you got to find your North Star and all that, yes, but at the same time, it could change and it could evolve. And, I don't know what my why is going to be 3 years from now, but I think it's important to have a why. I know that every day, if I feel discouraged or tired, or if I feel like I don't want to do something, then I think about my why. And it's going to be the why that gets me through. It's going to be the why and usually that why is bigger than yourself, right? That's what's going to make me put in the hours, do things I don't want to do, the blood, sweat, and tears, all of that comes from a strong why. So ask yourself, what is your why? And I know I mentioned subconsciously as well as consciously, and of course subconsciously we're not aware of that, but if you look back and you could kind of connect dots and think about your story and what could be happening underneath. It's just a better understanding of your why. So subconsciously with the children I was helping in residential, I think partly because my dad wasn't there. I think partly because there's alcoholism and addiction in my family. I think if I really think about it, I think subconsciously I got to be a father, and maybe that was also my why. Now I'm really a father, but I got to I got to kind of be a father figure to many of these kids, and I think that was a strong why for me, because I felt like at 35 going back to school, I felt like I was kind of late. I didn't know if I was going to have kids, all of that, and I don't know what is your why, but more importantly, what is the action? What is the action you're going to put behind your why? When you do, by the way, that's where life is created. A lot of people talk about life, like go get a life and go do this. And yes, fitness and movement and passion and creativity and all that. But a lot of people, we don't know where to start. If you have a strong why and you put action behind that why, it creates a path. And in that path, life starts to appear. So I don't know where you're at in your life. Maybe you are why-less, or maybe you do have a very distinct why. Just a reminder to feed it, because if you feed your why, you will have a meaningful life, guaranteed.